And we're live. It's me, JLB Pep Talk Boys. Welcome for joining me tonight. Look, we've got loads to talk about. We've got Anthony Joshua's interview on IFL TV yesterday, and what an interview it was. It was great to see something so raw. The footage was fantastic. Obviously, AJ's talking about his trip to America, talking about what happened in the Usyk fight, also his mentality, things that he thinks about that he's needed to change in his camp, and if he is going to change it or not. And look, one thing we know for sure that AJ definitely has a lot of stuff that he had to get off his chest, which I thought was fantastic. Tonight we're going to get Kenny Ken on in a moment. Me and Kenny are going to go through that interview, cycle through everything, talk about other things. If you want to get involved in the comments, please get involved. If you want to come on tonight and have a chat with me and Kenny, we're going to go live for about an hour. Just go through all this stuff. And look, let's not beat around the bush. Let's just get straight into it. Please, before you do anything though, subscribe, Pep Talk Boys. We really appreciate all your support. Hit that notification bell as well, and also like the video. But look, let's not wait no further. Let's get Kenny Ken straight into the building. And here he is. Here's the main man himself, Kenny Ken. How you doing this evening?
Arsenal won yesterday. It's one of those things where we got a big card this weekend. Disappointing that Dillian White is not going to be fighting this weekend, but we've come to terms with it. There's going to be a different fight in the bill that we've got to talk. But the main talk in points in boxing is always the blue ribbon division, which is the heavyweight division, and obviously our most famous heavyweight, probably the most decorated heavyweight, British heavyweight of all time, definitely the richest, is in the news because of his interviews, and a very in-depth interview, I must say, as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, Ken. Look, yesterday when I saw it in that, I was glad to see it because we had a chat, didn't we, not long ago, and you were saying you want AJ to go back to the AJ of before the original AJ, shall we say, back to his core roots. And look, from that interview, we pretty much got that. That's what we're going to see, aren't we, Ken?
Well, the thing is that, I think now at 10 times fighters are winded animals. So I think when fighters lose, they become winded animal. And, Deontay Wilder was a wounded animal after the defeat of Tyson Fury. And I'm talking about in February 2020. And Anthony Joshua was a wounded animal as well. Judging by interview with Anthony Joshua, he had a lot to get off his chest. I think he's probably felt, rightly or wrongly, that he wasn't being himself and that everything was a script, probably written by someone else. But it was he worded those. He actually verbalized those scripts that were put in front of him. So it was very interesting here, and he was very clear and concise with the points that he made as well, and the things he raised and his views as well. He says he's going to get back to being Femi. I sincerely hope so. But, one thing I did notice from that interview as well is that it's clear that AJ does take a lot on board what's said about him, not just by, his trainers. And I'm getting the impression there was probably too many voices in the camp from the way he's talking. But most importantly, he takes on board what, members of the public say. I'm sure it's clear he watches a lot of the boxing podcasts, definitely watches BBC Sounds with Tony Bellew and Eddie Hearn, and he definitely takes on board what boxing people said about his performance, and not just about his performance, what they said before, and that he felt that people seem to appreciate him after he's lost. I.e., saying, "Well, why don't you beat this guy? What's wrong with you?" and all that. But before they were rubbishing his record, so it was a very, very in-depth interview. But obviously the thing that everyone's talking about is who he's going to be working with in the future and how many people he's going to work with.
Yeah, no, definitely, Ken. And look, that's some great words there. Like we said the other day, we hope that AJ would go back to his core roots and delve into that. And I think AJ said that perfectly. He said that he had to have some really hard conversations with his team, and that's what had to happen. Really, I think that was the correct thing to do. I think what AJ said spoke sense, and I got a little bit of a feeling from Anthony Joshua that he's fed up of people talking on his behalf. He's fed up of, even with Eddie, he said, like, even when Eddie talks, I know Eddie says it from a good place, but sometimes what Eddie says isn't what is actually happening with AJ at that moment or that day or whatever the scenario is, and then people make that assumption that AJ has the same opinion, or that's exactly what's happening. And I think AJ now is just kind of realizing that, look, it's himself, really. Do you know what I mean? It's himself
But
that's in the ring.
What? It's a symptom of the thing about it is, right, it's certain sports where are team sports, and certain sports are individual. Tennis players are individual beings, and boxers are individual beings, where it's mano a mano, or feminine against feminine. So invariably, you invariably are responsible for a lot of people's livelihoods. For instance, Anthony Joshua, he's not so much responsible for McCracker's life because he's got other fighters and he's got other work. But in terms of like his management team, he is responsible for their livelihoods. And it goes for, Serena Williams and, Andy Murray. They are responsible for other people, are responsible for other people's livelihoods. Or elite, you've got a group, like a music group, and the songwriter amongst the group is responsible for everyone else's livelihood. So therefore, you are going to get a situation where the pressure is on you a lot, and invariably you are going to delegate a lot of responsibility. So, you can concentrate on what you're paid to do, which is to fight. But, after the event, AJ's, he's vulnerable, clearly vulnerable. And I think when you're vulnerable, you look at reasons why things have gone wrong. So you look at who's in my camp. Lennox Lewis, when he lost against Oliver McCall in 1994, there was talk, if you watch his documentary, he was looking at where it was going wrong, and he was looking at people who you can trust. And, one of the people he felt he couldn't trust was Pepe Correa. He felt Pepe Correa was a cheerleader and he wasn't training properly. So he's had to make significant changes. And Joshua was in that kind of forte as well. He is, I suppose, a victim of success, but there's extenuating circumstances that people are going to talk in behalf, because simple reason is that you're not just a boxer now. You're now a conglomerate, which means
brand.
You rely on outside business. You are going to be endorsed by companies. So there is a way of speaking that you have to adopt. And sometimes you are going to need professional people around you. You know what I mean?
No, 100%, Ken. And what I liked from what AJ was saying really is that it's just the mindset. It's like we don't normally see AJ for years. I know that he don't really like doing interviews. I know that he said that a few times, that sometimes where he's got so many commitments, he just likes to not do interviews and stuff. And I get that when you're such a big name and a brand, everyone wants a piece of you. I'm sure every day, every minute of every day, shall I say, that someone's trying to get hold of him. They want him to do this or do that. And look, I think going to America was great. Obviously, we're going to the coaching side in a minute, Ken, but also it was great to get insight from AJ about his loss to Andy Ruiz. No one's really gone in depth with him about that, and also with how he felt with the Usyk loss afterwards. And he kind of mentioned a couple of times about there were reasons, there were issues in the Andy Ruiz fight that hasn't really been spoken about before, but he said that he didn't like to make excuses. He didn't feel like that was the approach he wanted to make. He just wanted to take it as a man and just get on with what happened. And he kind of got to the point that he understands now when certain fighters say certain things may have happened, or as a lot of the media like to say, an excuse, which obviously other fighters don't like other fighters saying that. But it was interesting to see that AJ said that he can kind of see when other people had that mindset where before he didn't agree with it. Now he can kind of see why it can come into effect, because things do come into effect when it comes to a fight. Obviously, you can't have that mentality, oh, look, it's my fault, nothing. But let's be real, someone can have an off night at the office. No one knows what goes on in people's personal lives before something happens. It happens in sport, doesn't it, Ken? It happens in every sport, even football.
Definitely. But you know what's happening, right? Is that, Anthony Joshua was very unlucky that, if he's had an off night like he had in New York, and if he had an off night in like he did in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, invariably it's resulted in him losing his titles. Some fighters can have off nights, and invariably they can get lucky where, they can get put down, but they find a way to win. And I think what's happened is that AJ, in the first fight, in first defeat against Andy Ruiz, he fought someone who's very ruthless, who thought, you know what, this is my big chance. I've got him hurt, and he's staying hurt. In terms of like his fight against Alexander Usyk, he fought a very, very highly skilled fighter, and this is another guy who basically did not allow him to get into a comfort zone where he could hurt Usyk. And one thing is that Usyk thought, right, he's going to expect me to retreat, but I'm going to meet him at the centre of the ring, and I'm going to feint and let my hands go. So he thought, at world title level, he's one of those unlucky fighters who've managed who somehow, have lost their titles. But other fighters find a way. Sometimes they get a judge's decision, or like Carl Froch, he gets Howard Foster. Carl Froch tells anyone who will listen that the reason why George Groves should have won the fight is because he wasn't motivated, he didn't train hard enough, he clearly underestimated Groves, and that resulted in what he called an off day, where Groves was hitting him at will and out thinking him, out fighting him, and doing him with speed and hand and foot. But Carl Froch, in the ninth round, through his hands, got caught, and George Groves made the fatal mistake of walking head first towards the referee. But even so, George Groves would say he wasn't hurt. Either way, he's made a schoolboy error, and that allowed Carl Froch to get back in the fight. But Carl Froch got lucky. You know what I mean? AJ hasn't in those two defeats.
Yeah, but it was interesting, Ken, that what he was kind of saying was that in the first fight, there was reasons behind why it didn't quite go his way. Like he said, that it was a late opponent. He was ready for Baby Miller.
I agree with that.
Also, Andy Ruiz, it wasn't like Andy Ruiz was in a long camp or whatever. He had just had a camp and he fought Derevyanchenko, I think. The tall guy AJ was trying to remember, it was outside. That was a couple of weeks before, so he was kind of in momentum. Andy Ruiz, I think it was only 5 rounds that fight. He took that guy out, and then he went straight into that AJ fight on a bit of momentum. But what he was saying with the Usyk fight is that this time it was his own issue. What he meant is the tactics were wrong. What he tried doing was getting into the sweet science of boxing, which he said that he openly admitted that he went away from how he used to fight.
I think he did the right thing. If you speak to the thing is, it depends who you speak to. Obviously, there's a lot. Obviously, he says he wants to get back with his family. He wants sweet science boxing. But one of the things is that he kind of contradicted himself, where he said he's a 12-round fighter. Now, if you listen to the excellent Ben Davison, who obviously critiqued the interview as well, Ben Davison endorses AJ's approach because it is a 12-round fight. If AJ did throw his hands, it would be in a situation where AJ might have run out of steam and then would have got taken out. That's the thing. Because AJ, mentioned that he took it on board that he was this big heavyweight when he fought Ruiz, and everyone was telling him to stripped down. And
I think he just got caught up. I think he just got caught up in what everyone was saying, Ken. Like you're saying, he got caught up in he needs to box. What I think he needs to do, and this is what I think would be great with experience, is where he just needs to pick when to box. And I think now he's realised that against Usyk, he wasn't the type of fighter to box. When it was Joseph Parker and the Andy Ruiz rematch, that was perfect and ideal. But what I'm thinking now he's realising is that I don't need to do that against Usyk. I need to do that against another type of fighter, not against Usyk. And I think with Usyk, he said he's not going to go in there swinging like a madman. But what he said is that he's going to rough him up. And I've said this after the fight on a couple of live shows, that if you watch the fight back, and even in the fights with Chisora and Bellew, Usyk doesn't like getting roughed up on the inside. When he takes shots on the inside, he looks at the ref, he complains at the ref, he visibly shows when he gets hit. As we saw in the AJ fight, if you look at both fighters at the end of the fight, Usyk looked a lot worse than what AJ did. So I think AJ, that look back at him, which he definitely has.
Yeah, see,
is that Usyk doesn't like that, and that's what you need to do. You need to throw him about, like he said.
You've got to remember one thing, right? The school of thought, would say, well, yeah, Usyk doesn't like this and that. But there was another school of thought after the fight that Usyk didn't want to show his hand when he fought, he fought against Derek Chisora, because he says, right, I want AJ to, to underestimate me. I want AJ to box me. I want AJ to think that I'm not going to engage with him. and get him in a full sense of security. So the same sort of thing as well. Yeah, we know Usyk doesn't like that, but I still think that what AJ did was wrong. The two things I didn't like: didn't like his feet. I didn't like his upright stance. I didn't like the fact that he didn't throw combinations, and he didn't. I don't remember him getting that uppercut and then getting situation uppercut. So if he's going to rough up,
it's got to be uppercut on the inside, then again.
It has to be. He has to get his uppercut going. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't have to knock out his fighter. He certainly didn't knock out. Stop Pulev. The finishing punch wasn't an uppercut; it was a right hand. But it was the uppercuts that did the damage, especially in the third round, and it did the damage in the first knockdown, standing count in the ninth round. So once again, this is what AJ has to do. Usyk is not going to allow him to do, because, as I said now, one of the worst things you could do to certain fighters is that fighters who are not very good on the inside and like to fight from long range, one of the things they'll be working on in sparring would be the inside fighting. So one thing about AJ, what he needs to do is he has to win the power battle, because Usyk's going to be very difficult, and he is going to be do a lot of feints, and he is going to be holding, because he knows the tricks of the trade. And if you're going inside, do not make sure that you beat Usyk to the body punch. Don't let him get him with body punches. You beat him to the body punch. You soften him up, and then you could do your work. The worst thing you could do is for him to beat you to the punch, to the body, and then the backhand comes into play, because that was what AJ was talking about for the ninth round, when it was a backhand that actually, like I said, caused his vision problems from the last 3 rounds, where he felt the fight went away from him.
Yeah, and that was a great analysis. And look, I'm going to go into some of the comments, Kane, quickly before we carry on, because we've got still quite a bit to talk about. We had Rena Young says, love a bit of chat with JLB and Kenny Ken. We appreciate that. We love talking boxing. Me and Ken, we talk during the day and that, and we say, look, I said to him this morning, check out that interview. We're going to have a live tonight. We're going to talk about this, because I thought it was a great interview. So, yeah, we appreciate all your support. Also, Pavan says, Kenny, do you think Johnny Fisher can become a future world champion? Just a yes or no on that, Ken. Just not to elaborate as well on AJ.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, no, we're going to that at the weekend. Obviously, Johnny's fighting, but tonight's about AJ. But that's a great question. Keep him going in. Obviously, we've got Christopher Anthony saying, good evening, Pep Talk. Good evening, Christopher. We appreciate that. Me and Kenny enjoy everyone getting involved. So please get your comments in, and anything you want to ask Kenny and ask myself, get involved. And also, Christopher says, AJ's interview was weird. Swearing for swearing's sake. It sounded fake to me. Seems he can't work out who he really is. Strange fella. I disagree with that, and I'll get into that in a moment. I don't think that's true. I think AJ as a brand, obviously, he's got to conduct himself in a certain way. And I think half the time it's media trained, in the sense of that he kind of gets told to, I don't think told in the sense of told, but he knows the image that he has to portray sometimes. And this interview, he wanted to be cut back raw, back in Watford, like he said. Just go back to, just because he does all that media stuff doesn't mean that's Anthony Joshua. That's sometimes the product of the environment that he's in. I think AJ wanted, I think he wanted that interview. Yeah, he wanted that interview in Watford. And he wanted everyone just to see AJ stripped back, not people around him, not his team around him, not people telling him what to say or what to do. It was just AJ and Coogan sat there roaring. And as the next comment's going to say, which we're going to, then we get Kenny say, and that is John Smith saying, as a neutral, I think it was AJ's best interview. He is definitely hurting. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that, Ken. I think that he wanted people to know, look, he just doesn't take these losses on the chin, and he just says, oh, stay humble and I'll get on to the next one. He's a competitor. He's a winner. He's a lion. He doesn't want to lose. He's a man. And like he said, he went to America. He had to say to Rob, look, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to do. It wasn't, can I do this or can I do that? He's his own man, and that's what's beautiful about Anthony Joshua. He said to his team, we're going to have difficult conversations. We're going to have to do things that we might not agree on, but this is where I want to go. I want to be a 3-time heavyweight champion. I want to be classed as one of the best. And as we saw with Wilder, and I want to get into this point where everyone's going to knock AJ and say, what's he going to do different from Usyk? Wilder proved in that Fury fight that with a new trainer or with just a little bit of assistance, you can improve in certain aspects of your game.
Can you repeat that, Jay? because we're having. I'll try to tell you this. You were saying you were one of those.
No, no.
You're in the Lady Chang, what I call the Lady Chang gang, where you thought Wilder's got nothing to bring to the table. So can you just repeat that lovely point
No,
just one more time?
no, I'd happily say that, and I said that at the time when the fight happened. Ken, there was difference to Wilder that did improve him in that fight. It wasn't enough to obviously win the fight,
Of course
but
not. Tyson Fury.
you could see improvements. And this is what I hate about certain people in the boxing world when they say, "How's he going to do that in the rematch? He can't do that." In every type of sport, you can learn, or anything in life, you can learn all the time.
Sorry, cutting. But don't you think that it's quite extraordinary that these are people who are experienced boxers, they're highly, highly paid individuals. Not only they paid to go and design, they paid to go on Sky, and you know what? And some of them are actually trainers and training experience. You know, Ben Davison, he's a visionary. You know, Ben Davison is so right about certain people in boxing, and I say it's a great respect. I'm gonna nick his quote. There are some people who talk absolute fucking shit um, about the fighting game, about fighters, and they're actually respected people. They're people who've boxed, you know, people who have podcasts, run respectable podcasts, and most importantly, people who are trainers, certain trainers, and you think, and promoters as well, who've been around boxing all along, and they actually talk. You know, if a casual spoke about that, you'll just think, yeah, all right, no problem. We'll speak, you know, no problem. I won't talk to you about boxing. But when you hear people within the game coming out with this sort of absolute rubbish, Ben Davison deserves a medal for that. You know, get him on here. Get him on here. I love to chew the fat with him because I'll tell you one thing, right? Ben David, if Anthony Joshua doesn't need to go to America, there's a geezer from Cheshunt, just outside Enfield, who's not yet 30. Go and have a word with him. Add him to your camp because I'll tell you one thing, like he's potentially going to be a Hall of Fame trainer. Ben Davison. You want to talk about boxing knowledge, and you want to talk about someone who can analyze a fight, prepare for a fight, and work out a fighter's strengths and weaknesses for an iron and needle. Speak to that guy. He's the best in the business. He's going to be the best in the business. And he doesn't talk through, you know, biased eyes. He's completely honest, and I think he's probably how to say it. He's probably like people probably see him as a poison pill because he's too bloody honest for his own good. But yeah, Ben Davison is someone who I think AJ should be looking to work with. Not alongside.
He's a great trainer. Look, Ken, he's fantastic. I don't know if the issues with Tyson Fury.
He's got a great boxing mind.
One thing that I think maybe I know AJ said in his interview. I don't know if he said it tongue in cheek, but he said that he'd have Tyson Fury in his camping. He said that. But what I want to go into with Ben, I think you're correct. I think that he's one of the best trainers in the world right now. I think what he's done with a lot of his fighters is absolutely fantastic. I know on the flip side, a lot of people say, well, these fighters are already kind of half established. He's not took him from the beginning. But look, I don't care about that. I like to see what he does when he gets the job and how he improves that fighter when he gets that fighter. And I've saw in Josh Taylor, you've seen in Lee McGregor, you see even when Billy Joe Saunders or Tyson Fury. There's many different scenarios where Ben's been involved in fighters and he's bringing something to the table. And I think he's absolutely fantastic. And I totally agree with you there, Ken. Also, I want to go in while we're on trainers in that conversation. It was great to see Anthony Joshua give praise to Sugar Hill. Absolutely fantastic for him to speak normal. Do you know what I mean? People would have expected him to probably diss Fury, diss the camp, diss the trainer and that. It was just nice to see him to sit there and just say what he thought. And he said, look, Sugar Hill, that trainer work was absolutely fantastic. That was brilliant stuff. And that was great to see, wasn't it, Ken?
Oh, absolutely. I think that was fantastic because I think what's happening is that, you know, one of the things you talk about Tyson Fury, you always thought that he didn't plant his feet. But now he's planting his feet and he's becoming more that way. He could, you know, like if you're not planting your feet with your Tyson Fury size, you know what they used to say about, you know, like, you know, the phrase we used to use, big for nothing. You can't say that about Tyson now. He ain't big for nothing. You know, there's actual menace behind his size. And Sugar Hill brought it in him. I'm sure Ben Davison could have done that, but obviously, you get the feeling that maybe John Fury thought that Ben Davison didn't have enough experience, and he didn't feel that he was right for a fighter of his son's caliber. But talking to trainers, the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to trainers is that the abuse and criticism, that Deontay Wilder's trainer was getting was, I think people need. Oh, Malik Scott, I think people need to owe him an apology as well,
Yeah,
because
I agree.
his training, his improvement what you saw with Deontay Wilder's ringmanship, that is absolutely 100% down to Malik Scott. Obviously, Mark Green's going to take a lot of credit because of it, but for Mark Green to say you can't teach someone a jab and you can't teach someone that and blah blah, that was out of bitterness, because the fundamentals are jab, it is move, and timing. And Deontay Wilder, until he ran out of gas, managed to master those two disciplines. And so Malik Scott deserves a bit of criticism, loads of praise. However, one thing Malik should have done is that, I think that I think they went 360. Sometimes you can go from one stream to the other, and I think that's
Yeah,
where AJ needs to take heed. Deontay Wilder, put a massive emphasis on getting Tyson Fury out of there in terms of using his extra weight, because Tyson Fury was too heavy for him. But he forgot about, speed, speed of hand of foot, and not the ability to run out of gas. And I think what AJ's talking about, he's talking about getting his inner Femi and getting that aggression, and I'm going to be a warrior and we're going to war. Just remember, you did some good. You lost. I had you down losing 9-3, but some of those rounds I gave Usyk weren't wide margins. A couple of those rounds were practically close that I gave Usyk. So you did do something right. And remember, you hurt Usyk, and so can't go from one extreme to the other, because Usyk is expecting that. And what Usyk's going to want is, he's going to want to use his ability to move, jab and move, use his quick feet in feints. He's going to love all that, because I'll tell you one thing, he's going to spend more time feinting if you're going to come at him like that. As Tony Bellew says, build your attacks. But then again, I like Tony Bellew, but he was another one who came out with some, what I call like casual boxing nonsense when he was describing Deontay Wilder. This is a guy, again, he's won a great mind in boxing as well. So sometimes, personal opinion, you shouldn't have come into it. You should always, once you get an opportunity to be a pundit, do your job properly. Be balanced.
Yeah, no, I agree. We see it in other sports and that. I know we always go to football here at Pep Talk. We're so close with football and boxing. You see it with the pundits. I think with them, a lot of them are quite biased. They need to be a bit more neutral sometimes. And
Sky, I think Sky were prevalent for that, 100% prevalent for that. I think Macklin extremely biased. Smith, Adam Smith, absolutely biased. I think I think Ed Robinson at the time I thought could be a bit biased. Carl Frocht's 100% biased, but Jekyll and Hyde, honest after the event, not during the event, and he definitely gives his opinion of fighters and personal opinion of them as people. I don't remember him giving James DeGale any credit whatsoever when James DeGale achieved just as much, if not more, than him in the box ring. Maybe he thought James DeGale had gifts. Or maybe James DeGale didn't put him in his arse like George Groves did. Either way, his analysis of James DeGale was bizarre and didn't hold any weight for me because it was personal.
With Cole Froch, though, he's one of these fighters or ex-fighters and people in life that has a chip on his shoulder. I feel.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But that's for him to thrive to the best that he can be. I feel like
he's
he
not
needs
fighting
that.
No more. He's not fighting anymore. Yeah, he's still.
In his brain, he is though, Ken. You can see him all the time, can't you? You can see he's purring for a fight. Any Cole Froch.
Well, yeah, he doesn't want the hardness of, like I said, the doing the miles of morning runs and gym work and everything as well. He probably keeps him fit for his individual purposes, but it's very hard to take his punditry seriously when he's talking about certain fighters. He's been in the game now for the last 8 years, 9 years, 8 years. Well, let's say like the last 5.5 years. So you expect some sort of thing. But you know what? It happens in football. Gary Neville's he's not calling for Ole to be sacked by Man United, and he's even admitting because he's got a personal relationship with him, and his defence mechanism is, I never asked for other managers to be sacked, and I don't think that Man United should be going for big managers because the Van Gaal and Jose didn't work out, so he's always got that sort of buzzwords. But you know what? In terms going back to AJ, he's 100% right. Too many cooks probably have sport the broth, but what he's doing is he having a situation where he's creating a too many cook situation as well, where he's going to Sugar Hill's gym, he's going to Eddie Ronaldo, he's going to Virgil Hunter. These are all these are all great, absolute, A-level trainers, and they're going to give him such an advice. I'd always say incorporate and practice, but also perfect what you're good at. Because
you should. No, 100%, Ken, and we're going to go into the trainers in a moment because it was quite interesting, like AJ saying that that Rob will be in his corner in his next fight. But what he said to Rob is that, look, if I want to go and train with someone for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, that's what I'm going to do. If I want to go over and see Virgil Hunter or Ronnie Shields, and like he said, he didn't sit and mope. He didn't go on holiday after that last fight. He went straight to America and he wanted to get in them gyms.
See, this is my problem with it, right? If AJ has gone with all these sort of different trainers, and then finally he takes what he's learnt from all these trainers, like Ronaldo, like Virgil Hunter, maybe he's going to even try Buddy McGirt, right? And he gets to the fight camp. Who's the trainer and who's the boxer? He's got all these ideas, but is he training himself? Is Robert Cricken going to be the second trainer to AJ, the trainer and fight? Because this is we're going down some dangerous road here.
I think that's what he was alluding to, wasn't he, Ken? I think that's what he was saying about them awkward chats with his team.
Because one of the things that we accused Chris Eubank Jr. of was after he lost his second fight to George Gross, was everyone was talking about it. Duke McKenzie, Nasser Hamid was talking absolute rubbish. I think he was hallucinating when he came out of rubbish afterwards about he needs to retire. But one of the things that Duke McKenzie was talking about in his interview with ITV's box office, you can't train yourself. It's AJ going down that road.
Well, I don't think that he's going down that road. I think what he wants to do is he sees a lot of other fighters, and you see a lot of fighters that they mix with other gyms. They go to it, and he kind of alluded that he felt like he's been shielded at Team GB up in Sheffield, that they only have certain people in the camp. He's only been around certain fighters, and what he's realising is that even though some of these fighters could be rivals, or they could be in the same division, or they could be maybe in the light of the media, what they do in mixing and that, he said, no, screw that. Look back in the day when all them fighters used to be in each other's gyms and they used to mix, and it's just finding that culture and that different edge to your game, like where he could be in the gym and he could be seeing someone like, I don't know, Andy Ruiz, we're put into that because he's with Reynoso, yeah? So we'll say Andy Ruiz is in the gym with Reynoso. He's in the gym and he's seeing another heavyweight at the top of the game, someone he shared the ring with, someone that he knows is a former world champion, someone he knows is a great fighter, and that pushes you. I think for me, it says a lot that he was wearing the Canelo's team hat. I think he kept saying no, but I'm not saying that he's saying that's a hint or anything, but what I'm saying is AJ's his own brand. For him, so him to wear that hat and to be as happy as he was with it, I believe that maybe not necessarily he's going to train with Reynoso or Canelo in that, but what he's saying is he likes the atmosphere in the gym, the way that they're boxing 24/7, and like that's kind of what AJ's about. And I also said Canelo and AJ are similar in brands, the way that they're seen in the light.
All right, if we look outside the box, right, they're definitely going to fight next year. Is AJ going to all these sort of different gyms in the United States? Part of the build-up, a build-up to is he saying to Usyk, this is what I'm going to come out with you, to put things into Usyk's mind and say, right, I'm going to do this different, only to think, you know what, I'm gonna let him think I'm gonna do all these things. I'm gonna let him think, and it's probably PR. You don't even know. You know,
Mm.
AJ knows this game, and he knows that boxing is just as much mental as it is physical. Where the fighters, and the trainers will be scratching their heads, trying to work out what sort of tactics the opponent is going to, bring into the next fight. And AJ's doing some very good mind games if he's going around the gym to gym. First he's only now this after maybe 2 weeks that he's finally addressed the Rob McCracken situation. But he allowed that for 2 weeks to go to permeate around the boxing world, where rumours were created in order for them to be spread, which would probably go to Ukraine, where Usyk is. So again, it's another one of the things where it was mind games. You know what I mean? And I still feel that, as genuine as AJ sounded, I think there's a bit of a mind games in terms of that, and that the build up to the second fight has already started. But after all, we had the same thing with Deontay Wilder, where the mind games were started. Deontay Wilder was accusing Tyson Fury, which AJ mentioned about glove tampering, and then he was talking about, I'm going to be fit, I'm going to be bigger, blah blah. It's build up, innit?
Yeah, no, it is. It is, Ken. And look, the mind games, whether they work or not with Usyk, I don't believe that Usyk doesn't let anything get into his mindset. We've seen it. He don't even listen at the press conferences. He's there with his Rubik cube and that, and he's writing down his maths and that. He's someone that ain't going to get phased in that. But what I thought was interesting in that was that AJ said that with even like Usyk's been in the Garcia camp before, and maybe like going around to these different camps, you get to find out more in your boxing IQ, shall we say. If he's just with Rob and that, and in Sheffield, look, Rob's got great knowledge, but you're only going to learn so much about certain situation or about that.
I hear, but you've got to remember, is Rob McCracken his trainer or not? If you think something's gone wrong and you need new voices, then you need to grow a pair and get a new trainer. If that's how
I don't think they know yet, Ken. I think that's what AJ was kind of alluding to, because he said that Rob will be his trainer in his next fight. But what he did say was that if he goes to a coach, say a Reynoso or a Hunter or a Shields or anything like that, he said that he'll go, coach, I want to come train with you, or to train with you for a month, 2 months, whatever, short-term time. And if they come back and say, look, champ, that ain't going to work, I want you full-time, he kind of said that they'll see what happens. So maybe at the moment, yeah, Rob is still his main coach, but like you said, Rob is the type of fighter that isn't, a type of coach that isn't a selfish coach. He's not a coach that's going to beg AJ to stay with him or just or whatever. He knows, like AJ said, he had to go to America. He knows how it works in this fight game. And if AJ says to Rob, like this is how it is, I'm going to go and train with him for a few months. And like AJ said, Rob might say, well, come see me after that and we'll see what happens then. You've seen it before with Kell Brook. How many times has Kell Brook left Domingo and come back and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You do see it in boxing.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I wasn't a massive fan of that, because I thought that it was one of those things where I thought that one of the reasons why Kell Brook did all of that, because I always felt that everyone talks about the McGuigans being Svengalis when it comes to managing people's careers and training. Well, the Ingles were Svengalis as well. Like, there's no doubt the Ingles not only were they training their fighters, but they were taking management positions within those fights, and that's a fact. It's a fact, and there's no doubt about that. God bless his soul, the late Brendan Ingle alluded to that. So maybe, just maybe, and one of the words he used, if it's £400 and you'll get a cut, no problem. When it's 4,000, no problem. When it's 40,000, problem. So he's basically saying that they have taken management responsibilities as well as training them. Like I said, responsibilities. So, maybe that's one of the reasons why Kell Brook was being adventurous.
Yeah, and also AJ alluded, didn't he? I think what he was saying is that he doesn't want. I think a lot of the time with Rob, and we've said this, Rob's an amateur coach. He's for the GB. That he even said that in that last fight it was too amateurish. The way that he fought Usyk, that's a 3-round style type of fight. The way he's touching it,
and fencing, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn right, it was amateurish.
Yeah, and look, we all knew that as fans. Like, we said it at the time, and he just said, "Look, it's time to stop all that." He doesn't need to be sat there in front of a screen watching tapes of Usyk, this, that, and that. He says, "Look, I'm a fighter. If Rob, he trusts Rob enough to say, Rob, if you tell me this tactic, I will try and implement that into the fight." Obviously, maybe AJ spending hours and hours on end watching these footages, and he's just trying to say now, "Look, I've been a fighter long enough now. I don't need to be in there studying all this. I can fight on the back foot. I can fight coming forward. I've got a good jab. I've got good inside work when he uses the uppercut. Like we say, that Dillian White fight, that uppercut, the Klitschko fight when he landed that uppercut. There's been many other fights when he's landed. And like we say, Ken, in that fight against Usyk, I didn't see one uppercut land cleanly in that fight. If I'm wrong, people in the comments let me know. But I was crying for that shot all night. I know you were, Ken, as well. We didn't see that shot. So that needs to come into play. And look, AJ, a bit stubbornly, like he said, people were saying you can't box this guy, so you box this guy. We heard Eddie Hearn say it straight after the fight. Maybe it was a bit stubborn. AJ was hearing that. And now he's saying, look, I've learnt the sweet science. I just need to use it at the right times. And he needs to mix that blend of what I think he needs to do is do what Usyk done to him in the first fight. Take the centre of the ring and hit a 1-2 straight down the pipe on Usyk. So he feels it. Goes on his back foot a little bit. Doesn't have to rock him or hurt him like that, but let him know that this big right hand's going to be coming down your throat. Because Usyk done that in that last fight, didn't he, Ken?
It just reminds me of like the build up to the first fight between George Groves and Carl Froch, where he says, "I'm going to take the centre of the ring, and I'm going to hit you a right hand, just one right hand, so you'll know that I can do it anytime I want to do it." And
exactly.
I thought, you know what I mean? I remember those words by George.
That was a classic moment in British boxing history, Ken. That was,
and he weren't waffling as well. He
weren't waffling, was he? He done it. No, mate. He put his nuts on the line, and he definitely come up trumps with that prediction. And it was fantastic when he hit that right. And if you watch it closely, Cole Froch's eyes are rolling in the back of his head. So credit to George Groves for landing that shot, but also credit for Cole Froch for getting back up and winning that fight. Obviously, it was a bit of controversy, which we spoke about earlier in that fight with Howard Foster, but still credit for getting up from that heavy knockdown. And I think that's what AJ needs to do in this fight. We saw it in the first fight. Usyk come out and he hit a left right down that pipe on AJ, and you can tell AJ, he knew that he was in a fight then. And I thought that kind of, even though his tactic would have been maybe to try and box Usyk, like anyone can, you take a big shot like that, it makes you double think, doesn't it? And AJ probably thought, okay, he's got a good left hook here, so. And apologies there. What do you think would be the perfect, not tactic, but what would you like to see AJ change in a boxing aspect on his abilities, shall we say, with the Usyk fight? What bits would you like to see different?
Well, for a start, I don't want it to be. I want it to be. I don't want to be easy hit, so I don't want it to be too upright. I want movement of shoulders and head. I want it to be lower down. I don't want him to be his full 6'6".
Yeah.
Unless you're going to be throwing punches from range, which really and truly you're basically doing a boxing match. By all means, stay upright if you're using your range to a certain extent, right? But when you're going inside, I want the head, and I want feints, I want movement of foot. I don't want you to be coming in and you're upright. That's one thing I want. Also, I want him to measure his attacks. I want him to build his attacks, and I want combinations. I certainly want that uppercutting thing. So you have to throw. I want more body shots, and I don't want just one single body shot. I want basically a heavy jab to the body, followed by a left hook, 2 quick left hooks, like jab, bang, bang, and then come inside. So I want double left hooks to the body, and then a double left hooks to the body, and I want a right hand. It doesn't have to be on the chest. I want a right. It could be like a straight right hand that hits him straight in the bottom, straight right here, right in the chest, get him down, moving him up, hand, like I said, and then attack the head. So I think what's happening, right, is that I want body shots. You're heavy in him, you're strong in him. One thing we tend to estimate in British boxing is the body shot, especially heavyweight division.
Yeah.
But normally we see a lot of those body shots in you know, in the welterweights, we see a lot of it. Definitely in the, you know, like in the light, you know, the lightweight division. We see it definitely in the bantamweight and the flyweights and featherweights. You know, where these guys are small but very, very quick. I want to see AJ in order to, you know, because this guy has to be softened up, and I'm not convinced
Mm.
that, you know, by trying to throw headshots, one, you're not always going to be accurate because you have to. It's all about timing, and most importantly, you know, unless you set up with a body, you're not going to be effective at a headshot either.
No, that's true. And yeah, I like to see the body work. What I'd like to see AJ implement is a bit like the Fury style against Wilder, in the sense of Fury was getting down low to stop the overhand rights coming. I know, look, before people start going crazy, let me finish my point. In, I know Wilder and Usyk completely different fighters, but I think AJ needs to be up close with Usyk, because Usyk's a boxer. He wants to be throwing the jab out there, going to the body like he did against AJ, and also throwing that left down the pipe. If AJ can stay close, I want a lot more clinching from AJ this fight. There wasn't enough clinching in the last fight. You saw it with Fury. He put his head into Wilder. He's in there. He's on him. That's what I want AJ to be doing against Usyk. He kind of elaborated on that when he said, "Look, if I've got to throw the ref down, I'm going to chuck the ref down." That's what I want to see him doing. I want to see him with his head in AJ's face, in Usyk's face. I want to see him now and again hitting on the break on the way out. I want to see that uppercut, like you said, Ken, on the inside. The body work on the inside as well. Like you say, that can really be implemented by AJ if he's got him in that clinch. Have one arm tucked up with the right or the left, go in with the body as you're breaking. Because look, as AJ kind of said, it's the ref's job. He's got to make the ref do a job on that night. He's not got to leave it into a boxing fight where the ref's there as a spectator. Let's be real. In the last fight, the ref had the best view in the house. He was watching an absolute great fight in the centre of that ring, because he wasn't breaking up. He didn't have to break often. AJ wasn't being dirty enough, and that's what I like to hear from AJ. I liked it when he said, "I've got to make this a war. I've got to rough him up. It's a fight. It is a fight at the end of the day. And it's down to the ref to let AJ know when he shouldn't be doing something and when he should be doing something." You see it all right. Floyd Mayweather. Remember, was it Ortiz that time where Ortiz turned his back to him and he knocked him clean out? Well, the ref, you fight at all times. The ref wasn't stopping it. The ref was. That's kind of it. Wasn't. Look, people say morally that wasn't right, but you're in a fight.
You're
and if it was the other way,
fight.
yeah, and the ref said that was allowed, and you got to do that. And like I say, I want to see them clipping shots around the back of the head. I want to see him hitting him on the break. I want to see that. And when the ref ducks him a point, you say fair enough. But until that point, you've got to make it a dogfight. Because Usyk, let's get this real. I think he's absolutely fantastic in and outside of the ring. Look, this guy, he's not an opponent that I look at and think, oh, I don't want him to win because I don't like him. The guy is fantastic. I like his personality. I like his character. Most of all, I love his boxing skills. His boxing skills are second to none. He's a great.
They're second to none.
He's great, isn't he, Ken? He's an absolute great guy. I hold no bad bones towards him. I feel like he's absolutely fantastic. So look, Usyk. I'm saying this for AJ because obviously AJ knows this guy's. Let's get this real, people. This is the unified heavyweight champion of the world, the former undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world, unbeaten Usyk. The guy's a genius to me, and it's two great compares. I'm looking forward to the rematch so much because there's things for AJ to work on, there's things for him to do, but also, can Usyk go one better, Ken? That's the question. He had him locked in that 12th round. Can Usyk think, I'm going to take him out early in this next fight?
Well, he could do, or he could do what he did, what worked for him, and like I said, measure his attacks, do his feints, and meet him at the second ring. Because Usyk's got a great opportunity to end the debate once and for all. You know, he can say, right, you didn't believe me again. I've done it again. Boom, boom. And then maybe Usyk can do probably something that we don't think that Tyson Fury's going to do, and start thinking, right, clean up the division. It's an opportunity. You know, I think Usyk and Tyson Fury owe it to, or AJ if he gets his title back, they owe it to boxing fans to prove you're the best. Because I'll tell you one thing, right? I consider myself a boxing person, and unless you clean up the division, don't come up to me and start christening yourself or people christening me as a number one. I want proof of it. You know, it's simple reason. You know, when it comes to football, we know the best side in the country is played the other 19 teams to prove they're the best. And in the Champions League, we know that whoever got in at the group stages, and won all those games because they're the best. I love Tyson Fury, but I don't want his legacy to say, "Oh yeah, I'm the best because I beat Deontay Wilder and a geezer 6 years ago in Vladimir Klitschko." I want you to prove the best. Yes, I understand where your dad's coming from legacy fights, but don't call yourself number one because number one, unless you clean up the division. Well, you probably
Yeah.
are going to beat all these fighters. You probably can, but we'll just go and do it then.
Yeah, no, but look, we're going to go for another 10, 15 more minutes. So get your comments in. Please subscribe to Pep Talk Boys. You've got me, JLB, Kenny, Ken. We're having a nice little chat tonight. It's nice and relaxed. We're going over the AJ interview yesterday and how the landscape of that's playing out in the world of boxing, and we're going over that. And when you said that about Fury maybe fighting the best now, it's his time now that he's got to. Because I don't know if AJ was having a little dig or what he was saying, but he was like, so Fury's now defended his title for the first time. I don't know, because like everyone always said Fury never defended the title. And he just said now Fury realises how hard it is to defend that title. Because that was a brilliant fight in that third fight, wasn't it, Ken? It was a tough fight for Fury, that one.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing. AJ, mused over the fact that he's had his 12th world title fight. Well, he's going to have his 12th world title fight. And that is a remarkable effort, for someone who won, hasn't got the boxing experience that, some boxers have been fighting to the age of 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have that kind of experience. AJ taught about boxing to keep fit. So because he's trying to, keep fit, he's fighting a lot of fights. He's clear, he's had a good record. And, it's easy. People are, can easily say that he has tried to clean up the division, and he has attempted that. So his status amongst, when you're talking about the best heavyweights, Eddie Hearn has got a point. He's fighting everyone. He hasn't ducked anyone. In the only time there was a problem was when negotiations fell away with Deontay Wilder, but. He fought ranked fighters, and regardless of what people say about Deontay Wilder and his opponents, he fought ranked fighters. So at the time, before he fought Tyson Fury, he was the best. But Tyson Fury has dethroned the best, and he's now, like I said, put himself up the rankings. But in order to stay there and have some sort of legacy, he's got to fight the best on a consistent basis and beat them. Beat the best fighters out there, and there's some good heavyweights out there we moved. All with different shapes and sizes. Some are smaller, like Usyk can move us. Some are big lumps who believe in the hurt business. There's loads of obstacles for Tyson Fury and loads of situations where he has to, unearth different facets of his arsenal, or sort of, dare I say, aspects of his arsenal. Every fighter, has got different attributes, and they do say styles win fights.
Exactly, styles do win fights. We just lost Kenny then. I'm sure Kenny will be back any moment now. But look, people, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well. Pep Talk Boys, we really appreciate all your support in there. But yeah, as Ken was saying there, I think we're just getting Ken back now. Hello, Ken.
Back. Sorry, just a little. It happens something on the stream. But as I said before, it's about, they say styles make fights, and Tyson Fury's going to find that if he does go on those sort of, tries to defend his belt and clean up the division, he's going to be fighting different style. Dean White is going to be not going to be the same fighter as Joe Joyce will be, as will Usyk. Different, and that's the exciting thing about boxing. We want to get behind Fury. We want to love him as much as we love AJ, but AJ's giving us what he wants, which is title defences and an attempt to clean up the division.
I think Fury can really, really cement himself as one of the all-time greats. He is already a great. Look, let's get this right. He's already great. But I believe, say if he fought Dillian White next, Usyk or AJ, and then maybe one more, even if he beat
Joyce.
Dillian White and it, or Joyce, Joyce is a good fight. But even if he beat Dillian White next and then beat an AJ and an Usyk to become undisputed world champion, which we say we want, would that be enough to cement the legacy, would you say then, Ken? Because you beat Wilder 3 times, then you beat White, and then you beat AJ or Usyk.
because they're live fighters. That's that. By fighting those three, he's cleaning up the division because
Yeah.
he's beating what we believe to be the best heavyweights in the market. Obviously, our top five differs, but Usyk, Dillian White, and AJ are in our top five.
Mm.
So he will be allowed to be called number one if he fights all of them and beats them. I will let that happen. Not that it's up to me, but in my opinion, that's where it should go. And if Dillian White beats Tyson Fury, then he's got to get past AJ, and then he's got to fight the maths. He's got to go have have his GCSE maths, GCSE algebra against Usyk. So we can't. The beauty of it all is that we accept that Tyson Fury's got as levels to his arsenal, but for some reason, outwardly we're ruling out Dillian White, but mentally, as boxing fans, we could see how Dillian White could cause him some problems, and how Tyson Fury, if he makes mistakes, there's someone who is used to a natural win fighter in a way that probably Deontay Wilder didn't have to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. But look, Ken, Fury's also got that title on him as the lineal champion, which counts as the number one in the division.
And that'd be
so if White beats him, White's the lineal champion of the heavyweight division. He's the number one. That's what it says, doesn't it?
Perversely, and maybe argumentatively, that's probably the lineal champion is probably going to be more lucrative in terms of like kudos amongst the boxing people than obviously the world WBC title is what he's been fighting for all his life, because it's a dream. It opens doors. It's something that he can never take away from him, even if he has it once. But lineal champion, where they basically Ring Magazine will have no choice but make him number one if he wins the lineal championship. They can't. So basically, he beats Fury, which we believe is going to an outside shot. But if he beats Fury, he kills basically 3 birds with 1 stone. WBC championship, proper, no franchise, proper lineal championship, and then a Ring Magazine championship, which I think the lineal championship and the WBC and the Ring Magazine means I think more to Tyson Fury than the WBC championship. The way he talks about it, anyway.
Yeah, because I saw a list the other day of the lineal champions from like the last 100 years, and it's a unique list, Ken. There's a lot of fighters on there, but they've repeated to become the lineal champion. There's not so many names in there's not like hundreds of names on there. There's probably about 30 names on there over 100 years. Like Muhammad Ali was lineal champion a couple of times, I think 3 or 4 times over his career. You got Klitschko on there. You go back further, you got I think it's Patterson and all them sort of back in the day, Jack Dempsey and all them or whatever. There's loads going back years and years. So to be a lineal champion, I think Lennox Lewis was the last British one before Tyson Fury. So yeah, it's difficult to become a lineal champion. So that's why Tyson talks about it, because lineal stands for, there's no actual belt, but what it stands for is you beat the man who was the man, and that means that you become the lineal champion. It's not like you become world champion for fighting for a vacant world title, or you beat a world champion that isn't maybe classed as number 1, they're maybe number 3 ranked in the world. You've beat the guy who's the Ring Magazine number 1 pound for pound in that division. So like you say, Fury does see that as a real high accolade. I see it as a high accolade as well. The only reason I think people don't is because there's not actual a belt for it. But for me, the Ring Magazine says that you're the best in that division. You're the lineal one in that division. That's what I take it for, because the Ring Magazine is normally contested between ranked 1 or 2 or ranked 1 and 3. So if you got that Ring Magazine belt, for me, you're number 1. And Fury does have that at this moment. So that's something that, imagine if Dillian White won that, what an achievement that would be. That would be on Dillian White's record. He's a WBC, Ring Magazine, and lineal champion.
You know what? Poor old Otto Walling, but you know what? The Dillian White fan in me just thinks, you know what, mate? Sorry, I get where you come from, and it's painful, but you know what?
He was given that chance one weekend. Sometimes the chances come and go. He has earned it in a sense of he's a fighter, but he hasn't technically earned that position, did he? He got given that shot, and sometimes this is what happens in life.
It definitely what happens in life. You know what's happened, right? Tyson's still going to be Tyson Fury, no doubt, like I said, Frank Warren's probably going to be in his ear to say, you know what, obviously I want my man Joyce to have a say, but Bob Aaron said, well, who brings him more money? Dean White's probably going to bring him more money because he's got pay-per-view value in England. But whatever happens is that we've been assured by Bob Aaron that he wants to fight in the UK. It's actually quite funny because like Joshua, probably said made some remarks and used colourful language of Bob Aaron. And I must say that he's probably speaking for a lot of people who find Bob Aaron a tad bit irritating at the moment, and that I think the spotlight, and I say it with great respect, the spotlight. He seems to be uncomfortably comfortable in a spotlight, and I just felt during the build up that the Wilder versus Fury or Fury versus Wilder details, right, were in my opinion, I say it's a great respect, in my opinion, more about Bob Aaron. I mean, who the hell was Kate Addo? I remember Kate Addo from Sky. You're gonna let someone like her get under your skin, who's basically isn't a fighter. All she's just doing is her job, and she got under your skin that much. You craved the limelight that much that she got under your skin. As I said, the lights are too bright. I'll tell you one thing though, I'll shake his hand. He's still going strong. How's he? Nearly 90 now.
90, I think he is, or nearly 90.
You know what? I'll shake his hand, mate. I'll shake his hand. Firstly, I want his hair dye from my beard, and most importantly, I want to see where he gets his energy from.
Well, I know he smokes the wacky backy, Ken, so I presume that's probably what's giving him the longevity.
I don't know, man.
Carefree.
The last person I used to love who went on eternally in boxing and still active was the late great Eddie Futch, who used to be Larry Holmes' trainer in 1975, and he trained a lot of. And I believe he was he involved with Deontay Wilder, the late great Eddie Futch? I don't know,
but
sure. Yeah, but I'm talking about the late great Eddie Futch. Who was training fighters well in his 70s and 80s. So maybe
the longevity is unreal, isn't it, Ken? And some of these people, it's like you say, Bob Arum at 90, still doing it strong, making it about himself. Look, Bob's clever. Bob does what's good for Bob and what's good for what's happening with Bob's team. And that's what, for a promoter, that's great for him and his fighters because he protects them. But he does. Look, he says things that's going to get a reaction. He knows how to rub people up the wrong way, doesn't he, Ken?
He got the intention and the limelight he craved when he went after a journalist who basically is just grateful to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And look, Ken, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. It's been great having this chat with you, going over the AJ interview, going over a few little issues and that. Look, it's always a pleasure. Ken, throw out some of your socials for people. Where can people find you? Let people know.
They can find me on Instagram and on Twitter with the same address at KennyKen1972.
Yeah, and look, Arsenal on a roll at the moment. So look, that's not good for me at Man United. We got Arsenal on our tails. They're on a roll. They won last night.
Don't worry about that.
Ken,
don't worry about that. Let me tell you something now. You've got the biggest enabler, which is keeping Solskjaer in the job, and that's Sir Alex. He's an enabler. Now, whether that's going to be good enough for Man United or whether that's going to create a sort of resurgent in the results, I don't know. But if he doesn't create a resurgent in results, then he's an enabler, and he's managed to give probably a manager who I feel is not good enough for you, cover your stature, more patronage. Which he doesn't.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
I hoped and I thought Ollie would do the right thing and resign, to be honest. I thought he might have thought after the weekend
no football managers resign because at the end of the day they want their payoff.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's why I know he hasn't, Ken. But I was hoping that the Glazers ain't going to make that decision. They're not going to get rid of him. He's the fall guy for him. He's the fall guy, isn't he?
Won't get rid of him. Two reasons why they won't get rid of him. One, commercially.
Yep.
You're making more money than you ever did when Sir Alex was there. And so basically, successfully, the Man United brand is as massive as ever. Two, most importantly, you've budgeted for Champions League football. You haven't budgeted. People think, well, they spent this money on Varane, blah, blah. You go and look at Man United's budget, and you look at the players they've built. They've bought players, but he hasn't bought a spine, has he? He always buys about one or two big names, and that's it. Never a spine. So if
No,
you
exactly.
really
It's
were,
bad times.
if Man United really were, like I said, going for the league, then you wouldn't have those gradual A-list signings. You'll have an A-list signing plus your spine or your side, and he hasn't done that. So that
And
tells
also,
me you're building your basically your models to get in the top four.
no, 100%, Ken. And also, he's gone away from when he first come in. He was bringing through a lot of youth players. At the moment, I'm not saying we need youth at the moment because we're struggling, but he's just out of ideas for me. We were seeing loads of youth players come through, and they just stop now. He's just got a set side, and he keeps playing it.
Let's get this right. If Cristiano Ronaldo is available, you have to get Cristiano Ronaldo because he's a big game player. But you have to utilize your players. You have to have a situation where he has workers around him, and if you're going to grow a pair, whatever you do not sacrifice the best player in the world. Sacrifice other players and other artisans, other artists within your team, but not them. He's the only one who could get you a goal out of nothing.
Well, he's getting his ideas, Ken, from the McDonald's saver menu with McFred. Look, them two in the middle are terrible. Like McTominay on his day with another partner, I feel like can be absolutely fantastic. But as a pair, they're running around like headless chickens, and you can't have them in front of that defence. The defence isn't good enough. Harry Maguire should not be the captain. I don't want to go too much in it as we're a boxing thing, but it's just chaos, Ken. It's absolute chaos. And look, everybody, subscribe to the Pep Talk Boys. Hit that notification bell. And look, we're going to be back with another live very soon. Join me on Saturday for the watch along. Joe's going to be at the O2, so Joe will be getting interviews and everything like that down at the O2. So look out for that next week on the channel. Sunday or Monday, hopefully we'll be getting all that out. Yeah, 100%. And Ken, you're welcome on Saturday if you want to come on for some reactions. If you're watching it from home, if you want to come on after the show, it'd be great to get you on there and talk all boxing. But everyone, you know what time it is. Have a great evening. And it's the Pep Talk Boys. See you later.
See you, mate. We'll speak soon.
See you later, Ken. See you later.